Hello everyone, today we are talking about Quant Network and Hedera Hashgraph in regards to the question, would the SEC deem HBAR, deem QNT securities? I want to give clean-cut, straightforward answers as to why I think they would not, but realistically, no one really knows when it comes to the SEC for two reasons. Firstly, their intentions for deeming XRP security and the case with Ripple, right? The hidden agenda to slow down the technology so they can actually catch up and then regulate it. And also, when it comes to the answer of that case, having a huge reflection on the answer of today's video, whether or not XRP is deemed a security, yes or no. But I want to go over and clarify when it comes to their status in regards to Quant and their ICO, and when it comes to Hedera and their open access, right? A lot of info in today's video. Stay around to the end. And without further ado, here we go. Okay, so firstly, we have Quant Network, and number one is no ICO in the US. So we can see here, Quant Network ICO held its ICO for the QNT token in May of 2018. At the time, QNT had a maximum supply just short of 45.5 million tokens, just over 30% of the supply have been allocated to the Quant Network, and the remaining 70% being intended sold during the ICO and pre-sale. The important thing to note here, no Quant ICO was held in the US. No exchange listing was in the US. Gilbert Verdian stated himself, he purposely left out US participants because there was no SEC guidelines at the time. A screenshot from Quant Telegram, Gilbert Verdian, CEO and founder, states, we've been in line with regulation from the beginning and use professional service firms to comply with regulation in Switzerland. In regards to the SEC, the US, they have stayed away from any of those activities when it comes to the questions with compliance and regulation. So logically it sounds. So they comply to FINMA utility token regulations in regards to Switzerland, and then FCA Financial Conduct Authority UK. That's really all that needs to be said. We're just waiting for Ripple, the SEC, what sort of clarity we can see there, and then moving forward. But realistically, the US, whatever they decide, what the SEC decides, they're falling behind, right? This is a situation where you either join up or you get left behind, right? Especially as well, remembering whose hands we're in when it comes to Gilbert Verdian, founder of the ISO TC 307 standard, having volunteer experience in regards to US connections, the Federal Reserve System, and just this whole portfolio in general. I think Quant Network has had regulation in mind since its ground up and the birth up. Now on to Hedera Hashgraph. Number one is accordance with SEC regulations. So first you have to go over Hedera Hashgraph public mainnet open access back in 2019. So allowing any developer from the general public to create an account and build decentralized applications on the Hedera Hashgraph platform. And in Hedera's view, when it comes to open access, when HBARs were actually released to the public, the sale of HBARs, the transactions are all in the eyes of not being a security in the US securities law. Because before HBARs were released, before there was a live network, we saw here, so back in 2018, the HBAR tokens begin to be released to participants in simple agreements for future tokens, SAFT offerings, through which the company raised $124 million in 2018. And Hedera stated that SAFT was in line in accordance with SEC regulations, all stating HBARs. They did not believe HBARs to be securities in that sort of sense. So now on to number two, US government connections. I might say this one's a little bit faulty because Ripple had connections, but I think it's pretty valid. We look towards the governing council, right? Let's go to Boeing, for example. Heavily embedded with the US government. So we can see here, title being, how much of Boeing's revenue comes from the US government. In 2018, it was almost 31% of the company's revenue. Insane. We can also hear Boeing's contracts, 49% with the US government, and also projects like Air Force One. A few other examples include, so, strategic partnership with global system integrator Armedia to develop dedicated Hedera practice. So, Armedia, peace of mind, stable, scalable, secure content / case management solutions for commercial / government agencies and enterprises. Also, we can see here, Brett McDowell, Executive Director, Hedera Council, and other speakers having a great presentation at the US Congressional Blockchain Caucus. It's also important to note that their main focus was enterprise. Just until recently, they're focusing on retail with retail use cases with the HBAR Foundation, but enterprises to use their network to deploy use cases like what we're seeing right now with Atma.io with Avery Dennison, right? So I think Hedera itself has done everything that they can to make HBAR not be deemed a security. Also, whose hands we're in? Lehman Baird, right? People we are investing in here. Now on to the last point I have is The US is lagging behind. That's the facts here. Number one, EU and Switzerland are setting an example along with Liechtenstein. So here's an article: crypto rules likely to follow European models as US fiddles in October 2022. So we can see the Financial Study Board is set to release new plans Wednesday or Thursday on global regulation that could affect how the group of 20 countries tackle decentralized finance. Right, they're moving to place here, and we can see, the US, they failed to enact crypto laws, leave it to regulatory agencies to interpret what is allowed under current regulations. You've got forward-thinking jurisdictions like Europe and Switzerland, for example, who are very clear on different types of crypto assets, says Gilbert Verdin, CEO of Quant. Further down, we can see here, so MICA MICA. The markets in crypto assets regulation was approved by the European Council on the 5th of October, the provisions which take effect in 2024. We can also see MICA MICA, EU markets and crypto assets, MICA regulation expect to enter in force early 2023. Now, these things are being put into force, but by the time they're actually finally put into place, takes a while, regulations are coming. This is a year of accumulation, in my personal opinion. Now on to the last point: they could attack anyone. Now, we saw this with LCX, right? Back in 2022, earlier on in the year. SEC called 9 crypto securities in an insider trading case. Ex-Coinbase employee. Insider trading, when the coins happen to be LCX, therefore deemed a security, makes zero sense at all. When you think towards regulated cryptocurrencies, regulated exchanges, you think towards LCX having 9 licenses with Liechtenstein, also being passportable to the EU with MICA as a part of the EEA, the European Economic Area. All really a waiting game when it comes to Ripple and the SEC, clarity of XRP, what that means for this year 2023 and other cryptocurrencies going forward. You're seeing other cryptos like Ethereum, the community with, Cardano, other layer 1s, layer 2s, suddenly caring about XRP, caring about Ripple versus the SEC because of what that means for their cryptocurrency as well and their investment. Right, that's really what we're waiting for here. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think they will get deemed securities or not, or do you think it's impossible, especially in regards to Quant having no ICO in the US? But the SEC do what they want, to be quite honest, and they can deem anything as security. So let me know what you think down below. But if you made this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. Please like down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.